Hi, this is Pooja and welcome to Food Without Borders. Now that we are wrapping up the month of October, I'm going to share another soup recipe with you, and this would be a roasted cauliflower creamy soup or creamy roasted cauliflower soup. You can call it whatever you want. It is so good. It is delicious. It is one of those recipes that you can take with you to parties, and now that we are starting the season of hosting, this is a great recipe to share with other folks. So let's get started. So folks, the star ingredient and the first ingredient is the cauliflower. I just cut them in florets and put them on a baking pan, drizzle some oil. I have used avocado oil. I don't use olive oil particularly because olive oil does not have a high smoke point. Seasoned it with some salt and pepper and then stuck it in the oven for about 35 to 45 minutes, given that every oven is different, at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I have a Dutch oven heating up here. Into this, I will add some ghee. You can use butter if you don't have ghee, and this would be about a generous tablespoonful, and I am going to wait until this melts. So the pan is nice and hot, the ghee has melted. To this, I am going to add some diced onion, a sprig of thyme, saute this on medium fire. I am going to cook the onion until it is slightly brown and very translucent. Add some garlic, and I just peel them and just cut them. And I'm not going to cook the garlic for a really long time. I am going to just cook it for about a minute because I don't want the garlic to overcook or burn. To this, I am going to add the roasted cauliflower. I am going to add some chicken stock. You could use beef stock if you want to. If you're vegetarian, you could use a vegetarian stock, or you can just use some water. And I also like to add some water to this. I'm going to season this with some salt. I'm going to let this simmer with the lid on. This simmered on low for about 15 minutes. And if you think it's bubbling a little too much, just put it on the lowest setting, put the lid on, and it'll be fine. Now, I am going to add some heavy cream to this. For those of you who are looking for a dairy-free soup, you can replace this with coconut milk. And let this simmer for another 2 minutes. I don't like to leave the thyme in, so with the tongue, I'm just removing the thyme and setting it aside. I'm not going to use it, so it is to discard. Now, let's talk blender. My blender can handle high heat. You may have to wait for some time until this cools a little because you don't want the blender to explode on your face. I don't know, it can happen, right? I'm going to transfer this into this blender, and this is going to be a very tedious process. So I'm going to finish this up, blend it, and then I will see you for the tasting. All right, so I pureed it until it was a smooth paste. Look at how creamy this is. Oh my gosh, doesn't it look delicious? Okay, that's plenty for me for lunch. Set this aside, and I like to garnish it with some freshly cut chives. You can even use green onion if you want to, or skip it altogether if you're not a fan of either. And some toasted and blanched almonds. They just give you the right crunch. You know, with soup, usually you love your bread. This is my substitute for bread. Okay. Always go for the second bite. I wish I could tell you, or you could taste it yourself. You could taste it yourself if you made it, what the texture really was. It is creamy, but it's not creamy like a bisque. It is somewhat creamy like a bisque, but it's fluffy at the same time. And I love cauliflower. On days that I don't eat meat, I love eating cauliflower, and now cauliflower has become so popular. Everybody uses it as a replacement to your mashed potatoes because of how creamy it is. So you have to give this recipe a try. It is so well seasoned. It is just a perfect recipe for fall and winter entertaining. Now, you can make it vegetarian by just replacing the stock with some vegetable broth. That is exactly what I do usually, but I did have some chicken stock in the fridge which I had to use, so I used the chicken stock for that. Now I will leave the written version of this recipe on my blog, so you will have the exact measurements and everything in the description box. And please hit subscribe if you haven't, because it really validates what I do and I enjoy doing this a lot. So I will see you next time. Until then, bye.